Today, we're going to walk through what we know about the tragedy that unfolded in Tumbler Ridge, British Columbia. We're going to stick to the facts, look at the official reports, and really try to piece together what happened on that absolutely devastating day. So, let's get right into it. And let's be clear about what we're talking about here. This was a mass shooting, and it happened at a Canadian high school. You know, an event like this is a nightmare anywhere it happens, but at a school, it's just something that shakes an entire country to its core. So, where did this all start? How did the day unfold? Well, the very first reports came out of a small, remote community, a town that was, suddenly and tragically thrown onto the national stage. And this is really important for understanding the impact. We're not talking about a big city here. Tumbler Ridge is a small, tight-knit town. Only about 2,400 people live there, way up in northeastern BC. So when something happens at the local high school, it's not just a building. It's really an attack on the absolute heart of that community. Okay, so here's a look at how fast everything happened that day. The first reports of an active shooter hit at 1:20 in the afternoon, and the response was immediate. But think about this. The RCMP didn't just lock down the school. They put the entire community on a shelter-in-place alert. That tells you just how serious they believed the threat was. It wasn't until later in the day that they could finally confirm the threat was over. And now we have to talk about the hardest part of all this. The human cost. The numbers here are they're stark. And behind each one is a family that's been shattered and a community that's just beginning to mourn. 10 people died. Police have confirmed that this number does include the suspected shooter, but still, 10 lives lost. For any town, that's a staggering figure. But for a place the size of Tumbler Ridge, it's just devastating. And on top of the 10 who were killed, the physical toll was just immense. 27 other people were injured. And we're hearing that many of those injuries were really serious. So for a lot of families, the full impact of this horrible day it's still unfolding. This really helps us understand how the tragedy wasn't just confined to the school building itself. I mean, look at this. 6 of the victims were found inside the school, yes, but 1 person died while being transported to the hospital. And then 2 more were found at a nearby home that investigators think is connected. It just paints a picture of a far more complex and widespread event than we might have first thought. Okay, so once the immediate threat was over, the focus naturally shifted. It went to 2 big things: trying to understand who is responsible and looking at how the police responded to the crisis. So what do we actually know about the suspect versus what's still under investigation? Well, here's the breakdown. We know police have described the suspect as a female. We know she was found deceased, apparently from a self-inflicted injury. But the big pieces are still missing. Her name hasn't been officially released to the public. And the biggest question of all, the motive, is completely unknown right now. So let's look at the police response protocol. How did they get this situation under control? First, that big alert, the shelter-in-place order for everyone. Then came the incredibly dangerous job of securing the perimeter and the building itself. Only once they were sure the threat was neutralized could they even begin the next step, carefully and safely evacuating all those terrified students and staff who were trapped inside. After the police tape comes down and the headlines start to fade, there's something else left behind, and that's a community. A community that's left to try and figure out how to even begin dealing with the aftermath of an unthinkable day. And this right here, this quote really brings you inside the school during those terrifying moments. Survivors reported barricading classrooms, hiding for safety. Can you just imagine? It's so important to remember that behind all the numbers and the timelines, this was the real experience for so many people. Students and teachers barricading doors, just hoping to make it out alive. That kind of trauma, it leaves scars that last a lifetime. The reaction was, as you'd expect, immediate. Schools in the area were closed right away. Grief counselors were brought in for students, for staff, for the families, for anyone who needed them. Condolences started pouring in from leaders all across the country. And pretty quickly, everyone began to realize that this was, without a doubt, one of the most devastating school shootings in Canadian history. So this is where things stand now. You have a community just starting a long and incredibly painful process of grieving. And at the same time, you have investigators who are consumed by the one question that's hanging over absolutely everything. The same question that we're all asking. Why? Why did this happen?
Right now, finding that motive is the central focus of an investigation that has left an entire nation in mourning.